Which Maple Leafs could be named to Team Canada's Four Nations Face-Off roster as Fraser Minten continues to impress? Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writer Lance Hornby. And Lance, we're just a couple days away from Hockey Canada announcing their roster for the upcoming Four Nations Face-Off in February. A lot of the projected rosters have Mitch Marner on it, but is it possible that some of his Leafs teammates could be joining him, whether it's John Tavares or Chris Tanev?
First of all, I do like that we're finally getting to this stage. Let's remember how often we were in the last few years putting these things together, only to find out that the league wasn't going to whatever Olympics and what other tournaments had been canceled. So good to see we're finally getting to the nuts and bolts of this thing. At these slam dunk, obviously, for Austin Matthews and Team USA, and William Nylander for Sweden. They were named earlier, and they've sustained good seasons. Of course, Matthew's been away, but just in 2 games back has looked like his old self, no problem there. And then you get into Team Canada and Marner. Certainly his creativity is still there. He's having the year he needed to have in a contract year, maybe making the Team Canada roster is going to be the icing on the cake for him as far as nailing down a new contract. Certainly the attention's not going to help him, especially if he has a really good tournament, and that's going to be probably a skills-oriented event where he's not going to have the same issues he had in playoff time getting shut down. So I certainly would expect to see him as part of that. Now, it's a lot of hometown bias, I think, because Toronto being Toronto, everybody talks about the local Maple Leafs and how much how well they're playing, and it's quite understandable with the start they're off to. You have Chris Tanev, who got a lot of votes, obviously from Maple Leaf players last few days for how well he's played. You do need a shot blocker in these things. It's just that you have a elite defender in Cale Makar, and you wouldn't expect the Team Canada to come up short as far as offensive defenseman goes. So he's definitely a possibility. And who knows? I think a real dark horse might be John Tavares, although the kind of like the grandfather position, so to speak, has been taken by Sidney Crosby. Tavares is having a heck of a year. It'll be very interesting to see if he gets any consideration. And he is kind of a Captain Canada in terms of a guy who's always there when the nation calls for him. So maybe if they're short, if there's an injury, if something untoward happens, you could add worse people than John Tavares to that roster.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. He was overseas playing the World Hockey Championship after the playoffs for the Maple Leafs. Speaking of Team Canada, it was just over a year ago, Lance, that Fraser Minten was captain of Canada's World Juniors team, and here he is now playing a third-line role for the Maple Leafs and filling in admirably. There looks to be some injured players on the way back. Do you think there is a spot for Minten on this roster when the team is fully healthy?
You know what? I'd never thought of such a young guy getting so many kudos as he has with regards to his hockey IQ. Almost every Leaf mentions it. That on the bench he's talkative, in the dressing room, on the ice he's organizing things. I believe has been captain of his junior team, and certainly, as you say, done well at the international level. This guy's impressing a lot of people, and let's be sure too that even though the Leafs have talked about moving Marner and Nylander to center, that third line role, if he can nail it down, is open, and that he has an interesting option, and that he can be sent back down anytime he falters without waivers, I believe. So that's not they don't have that option with other players, but certainly getting a couple of goals has helped his cause. 4 points, I believe, in 5 games altogether, and really, you see guys coming back, like you mentioned. Not Alex Nylander really hasn't impressed so far. You're seeing Rubenkin come back to earth a bit. So I think of all the guys who've been called up, this is one they might keep long term. And he's very candid. He's learned his lesson from last year when he played the 4 games and maybe was a little overwhelmed. Now he looks very comfortable in that role, and it'd be interesting to see what the Leafs do with him going forward.
Yeah, definitely a good problem to have for the Maple Leafs with one of the young guys playing really well right now as the injuries continue to pile up for the Leafs, but hopefully they are starting to get healthy just around the corner here. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. For Lance Hornby, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.